put things into plan for things, and if something does happen, they're ready for it. So facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show for your stories. You're listening to The Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. And now, travel news. As I mentioned, the main news story this week is about a car park in Gatwick. Sussex police who used Twitter to warn holidaymakers flying from Gatwick to be aware about dodgy companies when parking their car. Apparently, over 1,000 cars were found left unattended in a muddy field near the airport, which the police reckon is an illegal operation. The exact location hasn't been revealed, but there has been a picture from the car park with a warning flying from #Gatwick soon, use an approved parking firm, or your car could end up like this. And there's a car just sprayed in mud. And last week, police, with representatives of the Horsham District Council and Trading Standards, found keys left in envelopes on car windscreens, while hundreds of keys to other vehicles were found in the boot of a car that was left open and unlocked. Other cars were also covered in mud. A spokesperson described the people doing this as unscrupulous rogue companies. Sergeant Darren Taylor said that he was disgusted but not overly surprised by the condition of the cars, because this appears to be an ongoing issue in the area. So if you are going to be going on holiday and you find a good deal, do be careful. Don't just go for the cheapest thing. I'm reminded of a hire car scam a few Christmases ago. The prices were so much cheaper than everybody else just because they knew they would grab somebody with it. And it turns out the company didn't exist. They took your money. They used the money to pay bills, wages and whatever, but there was no cars. And so people lost. They had to claim back on their card. So the credit card companies had to pay out, which makes it more expensive for everybody else. If it's cheap, find out why it's so cheap. There's obviously a reason. Just use an approved car parking dealer. Book through your travel agent. It'll save you a lot of hassle. The last thing you need when you've been flying 8 or 10 hours to get back to Gatwick and then find your car covered in mud in a muddy field. When I started Holiday Hut, my former company, I was an early user of TripAdvisor, and I can remember how warmly welcomed TripAdvisor wasn't by the travel trade, and one or two people were saying, how dare people use TripAdvisor when they could use me? I'm an expert, I'm a professional, I know everything. But it worked well for me. I never had one hotel complaint for all the time I had a travel business because I use things like TripAdvisor. But I did notice that when I started, it was very easy to find really terrible hotels, which was very handy for me doing presentations. I could talk about how bad a hotel is because person A found this, person B found that. But more and more I kept doing it, I found it harder and harder to come up with examples of really bad hotels. And it seems I'm not the only one who found it harder to come up with really bad hotels, because a TripAdvisor study has found that the standard of hotels and B&B accommodation in Britain has improved from being one of the worst in the world to one of the best. This study found that in 2005, the average rating for UK hotels and guest houses was 3.57 out of 5, the lowest in the 15 markets analysed back then. But for 2015, the UK reached an average rating of 4.16 out of 5, putting them second only to Italy. The UK's average rating rose above other markets including Spain, France, USA and Thailand. And the study also found that smaller independent accommodations in the UK were giving the biggest boost to UK's overall average rating. B&B's average review rating of 4.48 out of 5, and hotels were 4.04. Even within the hotel sector, smaller properties were shown to have a ratings advantage over larger properties. And the UK hotels that had accommodation of less than 25 rooms scored an average of 4.4, and those with 26 to 100 rooms got 3.97. The reviews rating study also found that business travellers are the most discerning even reviewers, rewarding the lowest average review rating to accommodations compared to other types of global travellers. Couples were the most satisfied, giving hotels and B&Bs the highest average review rating amongst all types of travellers. The most positive reviewers of UK properties by nationality are the Americans, which surprises me something chronic because I've seen so many reviews from Americans about European hotels. I didn't expect that, but they gave an average of 4.21 out of 5. And apparently us UK reviewers are the most positive in the world. In 2015, the average review rating given by a UK traveller was 4.19 out of 5, making the second most positive reviewers out of the 15 markets analysed. How about you? Have you found that it's harder to find a poor hotel using TripAdvisor than it used to be? Are you finding hotels have improved over the years in the UK? If you're regularly travelling around the UK staying in hotels, please do share your thoughts at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. The Olympics will soon be upon us, so we can just got over the disappointment of the Euro 2016, unless of course you're Welsh, and then we'll have the disappointment of the Olympics to look forward to. Well, NAFNAC has released a statement about travelling to Brazil for the Olympic Games, which are running from the 5th to the 21st of August, and the Paralympic Games, which will be following it from the 7th to the 18th of September. For right now, what NAFNAC stands for has gone right out of my head, but basically they keep an eye on epidemics and diseases around the world, and they have been on the show in the past. And they say Brazil has a tropical climate with a wet and hot summer and relatively dry and cool winter. And this means that mosquitoes, including the mosquitoes that carry dengue and Zika viruses, are active throughout the year. So NAFNAC advises vigilance about insect bites avoidance. But the games are taking place during the winter season in Brazil, so the cooler, dry weather in the city of Rio de Janeiro may reduce the number of mosquitoes, but not remove. The number will be significantly lower, but not completely disappeared. So there'll be a less risk of getting Zika or dengue or whatever else the mosquitoes carry. The Amazon areas, including the city of Manaus, where some football matches will be held, are hot and humid all year round, so there will remain a significant risk of mosquito-borne infections in that area. So you can research current health risks and vaccine recommendations on the Brazil country pages of the NAFNAC website or the Foreign Commonwealth Office website, which also is going to have the security stuff too. And the links will be put on facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. They say that disease is spread by insect bites, so you have to make sure you, again, repeat the story, make sure you avoid getting bitten. And for some cases, such as Zika and dengue, there is no preventive drug or vaccine, so avoiding mosquito bites is the only way to try and prevent infection. So they say if you're pregnant and planning to travel, you should postpone all non-essential travel to areas where current active Zika transmission is at the moment until after pregnancy. If your travel can't be postponed, then you have to be aware that the risk of Zika virus is there. So you should be scrupulous with your mosquito bite avoidance measures, both during the daytime and night time, but especially during mid-morning and late afternoon to dusk, where the mosquitoes are most active. There are one or two high-profile people who have already said they're not going because of the risk, and this press release from NAFNAC is extremely detailed, and it's far too much for me to read through on a show such as this, especially with my voice, it'd be so dull. So I will be putting a link to it at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. But we'll go through one or two more things before the end of the show. Carry a first aid kit, which contains basic painkillers and gauze and antiseptic to cover bites, to clean bites, diarrhea treatment, that sort of thing. Make sure you have travel insurance, because Brazil and the UK have no reciprocal health care agreement. So you need comprehensive medical insurance, including medical evacuation costs. As again, don't go for the cheap stuff. Go for the insurance that's actually going to do what you need it to do. If you are on medication, make sure you have a good supply with you, because you might not be able to get a replacement while you're in Brazil, and it could be too easy to get counterfeit medicines which will be no use to you whatsoever. And while you're there, take care eating and drinking and follow food and hygiene precautions, because diarrhea can be a problem, and avoid dehydration by drinking plenty of water from a safe source. So if you're in a restaurant, make sure you see the person undo the cap of the water and not that it comes to you loose, because of course it could just be tap water. The sun's hotter in Brazil than the UK, so you have to make sure you're safe about that too. Rabies is in Brazil, so you might think about getting a jab for that too. It takes a few jabs to be covered, but it's worth the expense, because if you do get rabies, the stuff you need afterwards is just not... I don't want to talk about it right now. Of course, there's a lot of crime as well, so make sure you follow Foreign and Commonwealth Office guidelines about crime. There's a high accident rate, so especially the rural roads, so you have to think about whether you want to hire a car or not. Never swim after drinking alcohol or taking drugs, because some of the currents and tides can be very strong. And of course, there can be parasites in the water, especially fresh water. So wading in lakes and rivers or streams is not recommended. So you do need to swim in chlorinated swimming pools and not ponds. The sea's okay. Body piercing tattoos, again, is a no-no. You don't know how clean it's going to be. But when you come back, if you have any symptoms such as fever, flu-like illness, persistent diarrhea, get immediate travel advice, and do tell your doctor that you've travelled to South America. If you have been to malaria risk areas, an urgent malaria test must be arranged. This is important. Even if you completed your anti-malarial tablets and have been home for a while, get the test done. And if you had unprotected sex or are concerned about sexually transmitted infections, including HIV, go to a sexual health clinic as soon as possible for tests. If you are going to Brazil for the Olympics, I hope it all goes well for you. I hope you come back safe and sound. If there's any precautions that you're taking because of Zika and the crime, please do share your tips at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Well, that's the end of the 4th birthday edition of the Travel Show. I hope you found the advice from Abta and UK ECC reassuring. Nothing's going to change as far as holidays are concerned for the foreseeable future. And do be aware, people may try and scam you, because of people are a bit concerned that things may have changed. If somebody says something's changed, don't believe them. Check into it thoroughly before you hand any money over. And as I said, the NAFNAC thing will be at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. I'm taking a break for a month from the Travel Show. I've been doing it non-stop for 4 years, and I need just to go and refresh myself and come back with some new ideas. There will be a show during July. It will be only destinations. There will be no travel news or anything like that, but there'll be destination information, so keep an eye on UK Health Radio website and Twitter feed to see what's coming up. And then I'll be back fully refreshed in August with a new show, hopefully loads of guests and loads of information about consumer protection for the traveller and destination information. Anything you want covered, facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show is the place to go to leave a message, and I will get the answers to you either directly or via the show. And the music that's playing in the background is the theme tune of my very first show, and it still makes me feel nervous when I hear it, because there's nothing like going live for the first time. If you've not had a if you've not had a radio show and there's something you know a lot about, check out local community radio stations. They're always looking for volunteers. It is worth doing. I've met loads of people I never would have met if I'd stayed as a travel agent. It's opened a lot of doors for me. It's been a lot of fun. So if you're an expert in something, chat to your local community radio station, get a show, go out there and do it. And just remember, you will be really, really worrying about it on your first time, but after that it gets easier. And I hope you can join me when I'm back in August on the Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com, where each week I'm checking it out before you check in.